Good morning. We read today Luke 8:40 to 48. When Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And there came a man named Jairus, who was the ruler of the synagogue. And falling at Jesus' feet, he implored him to come to his house, for he had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. As Jesus went, the people pressed around him. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years. And though she had spent all her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately her discharge of blood ceased. And Jesus said, "Who was it that touched me?" And everybody denied it. And Peter said, "Master, the crowd surrounds you and are pressing in on you." And Jesus said, "Someone touched me, for I perceive that power has gone out from me." And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, and falling down before him, declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him, and how she had been immediately healed. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." That's where we're going to stop. Tomorrow we pick up the rest of his journey, and he gets to Jairus' house, and we'll see what happens with Jairus' daughter. I wonder if it's of any significance that the daughter is 12 years old, and this woman has been had this affliction for 12 years. I just don't know, but maybe it does. But let's look at this woman now. You know, she's a woman. She's got this gynecological condition of some kind, and all of which means that she is in no condition to come up and grab Jesus and touch Jesus. She's basically unclean according to the ancient laws. And but she comes up behind him and grabs the hold of the fringe of his garment. They would have worn these long robes, and sometimes they would have had these fringes on the edges. So she touches that, and she's healed. And Jesus is aware that something has happened, and he turns around and says, "Who touched me?" Now he's in a crowd of people. You know, all kinds of people bumped him and touched him, and Peter's like, "Jesus, look at this crowd. We don't know who touched you. Everybody touched you." Jesus says, "No, somebody deliberately touched me. I know that because I felt it." And Peter's kind of rolling his eyes. And meanwhile, the woman comes up and says, "It was me. I'm sorry. I touched you, and I wanted to be healed, and I was healed." And Jesus says, "Well, good. Go in peace. Your faith has made you well." So she had enough faith just to grab the fringe of his garment and be healed. Sometimes I wonder if we have faith like that. We're scared of all kinds of things, or we don't really believe anything's going to happen. And so we pray for healing, or we pray for this or that, but we don't really believe it. I don't think. And sometimes when we're faced with something, when we're faced with being healed, we find that it's difficult to get our minds in the right place. It's difficult to say, "Well, I really believe this is going to happen." Some people would rather have their affliction and pray about it and not be healed than actually have to change anything. And that's an issue that Jesus sometimes faced and dealt with people. Some people just don't want to be healed. Some people learn to live with their condition and say, "Well, this is how it is. I'll be fine." And they don't necessarily look for healing. I always hesitate when people talk about you need to have more faith or enough faith, because I'm not sure we can quantify faith like that and say, well, this much is enough and this much isn't. Certainly, sometimes faith is stronger than other times. And sometimes we believe in something that we're really committed to. And so we say we have more faith, better faith. But let's be careful about quantification, because I don't think faith works that way. That said, be like the woman. Go to Jesus and grab a hold of his coattails and say, help me. And see what happens. I think you'll be surprised. Now, you have a good day. We will see you tomorrow for the rest of the story.